couple of days ago, I was watching some videos on YouTube. What I often do is I just browse through recommended videos. I'll watch something on current events, and sometimes you'll have a little video underneath. And there was a video by Louis Theroux, I think that's how you say his name. And he was basically going into prisons, different prisons. Because I watched a number of his videos, little short clips of around 3 minutes each. Going into different prisons, speaking to different inmates, and I'll just give two accounts of what he saw and heard. He goes into one prison, I think it was in Miami, and basically he was talking to a guy in a cell. And in this prison, kind of a mega prison, I can't remember the terminology, but anyway, you got about, I'd say, anywhere from 5 to 10 men, young men, in a cell. And the guy was saying, he seemed like the main guy in the cell. Didn't want to admit to it, but that's what it seemed like. He was saying that when you come into the cell, you've got to, in order to determine which bunk you sleep on, whether you sleep on the bottom or the top bunk, stuff like that, you've got to fight everyone. Basically, people queue up to fight you. You fight one after another, and that's how you determine your status in the cell. If you come in there, you don't always have to do that, because if you've already established yourself somewhere else in the prison, then you're okay when you come in. There's like a hierarchy, but it's all kind of determined by violence and basically evil, I would say. And Louis Theroux says, well, why did you do that? And the guy said, it's the rule. These are the rules. And he asks something like, well, who made the rules up? And he couldn't answer. He just said, it's the rule, it's the rule, it's what we do. It's the code, as it were. And for me, it's kind of sad that these young men are living by, I will say, dumb rules that don't help them really, don't help anyone really. I suppose they think that it does because it establishes them on a different level or on a higher level if they're successful and tough enough in the prison. But they don't know who made these rules up, and they'll live and die by these rules. And Louis Theroux goes to another guy. He's in solitary because he's very violent, and he talks about extorting people and killing people, bullying people, hurting people in general. And again, the question is asked, why do you do this? And he says, it's the rule. Who made the rule? We don't know. You just have to abide by it. You just follow the rules. Dumb rules again. He goes to another prison, I think it's San Quentin, and he's on the yard with one of the prison officers, and the prison officer's telling him the white people are over there, the black people are over there, the Hispanics over there. And he speaks to what look like kind of, I suppose you could say, skinheads. And they elaborate on the rule, if you're white, you stay with us. If you're black, you go over there. If you know what I mean? And again, why? It's the rule. And what if I were to speak to someone of another ethnicity? We'd have to deal with, yeah. Why? It's the rule. All of these dumb rules, and no one knows who started them, who set them up, but everyone is living and dying by them. I suppose I'm saying this to say, because even in England, I see, a lot of young people on the street. And when I was a young man growing up, early 80s and so on, um, even through the 80s into the 90s, more so the 80s, there would be little fights between one young person and another. And often that was how it ended. You'd have a fight, you would beat up the guy would beat up you, and it stopped there. But the new rules are, if someone does anything to you, you've got to come back with something worse. And basically, as I'm saying about the jails in America, the young people in general to a certain degree, who aren't, I don't know, let me put it this way. Too many people in this world are living by dumb rules, living and dying by these rules. These rules are life and death to them. They don't know who made the rule, but they're living and dying by these rules. And it's silly because it often is the case that poor people are dealing harshly with other poor people instead of coming together and helping each other. And that's depressing, because we should be coming together to help each other instead of living by dumb rules that result in us going against each other and hating each other and hurting and even killing each other. It does dishearten me. As I said, poor people fighting against poor people, and who do you think is really coming with these rules, making these rules? For me, to a certain degree, it's the people above those of us who haven't got a lot, keeping us preoccupied with as many things as possible, dumb rules, and not just the dumb rules. In Rome, back in the ancient times, whenever an emperor, or it got to a point that whenever an emperor was seeing some kind of potential public uprising, he would give them the games, the gladiators fighting one against another, throwing Christians to lions and so on and so forth, so that they were given some kind of distraction. And this is the thing, we need to do all that we can to help one another instead of living by dumb rules, instead of allowing ourselves to be defined by a football team or a boxer or some other kind of sports star or sports team. Um, and before I sign off, I'll stumble across videos on YouTube where two people are fighting and hurting each other, and instead of people splitting up the fight, they're there with their cameras, their camera phones, saying "World Star, World Star." What is the world coming to? That we can't help each other. It's a sad state of affairs, and it needs to change. And it's only when we begin to decide to and act upon the decision to help each other that things are going to get better.